Hey everybody, this video is titled Linux commands for non-CS majors. The idea of this video is to show you a couple of Linux commands with the help of a story, just to have some context. So I'm going to pull up my terminal. I want you to pull up yours too. And if you're on Windows, I want you to install WSL, which is Windows Subsystem for Linux. If you're on a Mac, the default terminal works. If you're on any Linux distribution, the default terminal works. I'm going to pull up my terminal now. So I've got my terminal here. Now, let's say you just graduated as a biomedical engineer, just joined a tech company, and your first task is to set up a Python project that does some sort of calculation, let's say NumPy or Pandas. So let's create a directory for our project here. I'm going to call it LabMetrics. So I'm going to use the command mkdir to create a directory. So mkdir lab-metrics creates a directory for me. And to navigate into it, I'm going to use the command cd, right, or change directory. So change directory, LabMetrics, and let's just go inside it. Now, to check the current location, right, I'm going to use the command pwd. So that just confirms it for me. I'm inside LabMetrics. And let's say we need a main entry point for our application. I can't decide between main.py and app.py, so let's just create both of them for now. The command to create a file is touch. So I'm going to say touch main.py, hit enter, and to see all the files inside my current directory, I'm going to type in ls. Now we've got main.py there, so let's just create one more file called app.py, just because we can't decide between main.py and app.py. So I touch app.py, hit ls, we can see that there. Now let's say I need a .env file to hold environment variables to swap between our development and production environments. So let's just create again a file with the touch command. So I'm going to say touch.env, and if I hit ls, I can't actually see that file. The reason is any file that starts with a dot, ls command just don't show it. So to actually see all those files starting with a dot, you're going to type in ls space and put in the flag -a. So now it actually shows you the .env file. Now I do know that I need a couple more files, so I'm going to create them. Before that, let me just clear out the terminal using the clear command. Now let's say I need a settings.py and a config.py file. So I'm going to use the touch command, but this time I'm going to chain them, right, just using a single line. I'm going to say touch config.py and settings.py, right? Instead of writing them down 2 times, I could just do this, and there we go. So let's say our application has a user interface, some database handling capabilities, and a couple of utility functions. So let's just create directories for each of those. So I'm going to use mkdir user interface space db handler and utility, and let's just confirm if that was created. Now let's go ahead and add an env variable in our .env file. Let's say we've got different values for our database in the development environment and the production environment. So let's just add env equals development for now. So the way we can do that is I could use echo. Echo is a command to print stuff to the terminal. So I could say echo env equals dev, and that just prints there. And now let's redirect that to the .env file. So once we do this, echo prints it to the terminal. The std out, that's our input now, and that's moved to the .env file. To see the file contents of .env, we could use the command cat. So cat actually prints the file contents to the terminal. So cat.env just prints that out. This is what we just added to the .env file. Other commands to actually see file contents, you could use more.env. That just pretty much does the same, or you could do less.env, and less is primarily useful if the file contents are really big. So to exit from this interface now, you could just type in q. That brings you back to the terminal. Let's say I want to rename the folders user interface, db handler, and utility. It's too long, I don't like it. Let me just rename to something smaller. So to rename a folder, I could use mve and say user interface, the current folder, and move it to, let's say, UI. That's much cleaner. And if I hit ls now, I can actually see it's been, the file folder name has been renamed. So let's just do the same with db handler utility. So I'm going to say db handler and move it to just db, and mv utility, let's say util, to just confirm that. Now that I have a util folder, I could actually move the settings.py and config.py to the util folder. So to do that, I could actually use the mv command again. So I'm going to use mv setting.py and /util. I want to move it inside the util folder. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to do the same with config. So I'm going to say mv config /util. If we were to look at the folder structure now with the tree command, I can actually see the config and settings.py have moved inside the util folder. I was told I'd be working with ECG signals, EEG signals, and EMG signals. So I'd need directories for each of them. So I'm going to create one for each. So I'm going to say mkdir, ECG, EEG, and EMG. We've got that there. Now I need an init.py file inside each of the directories. Now instead of navigating into each directory and saying touch init.py, I could actually do this. So I'm going to say touch. I'm going to list in each directory where I need an init.py file. So I'm going to say, let's start with db, ECG, EEG, EMG, UI, util, and I'm going to put in close the curly braces, say slash, I'm going to say init.py, and I'm going to create that. So if I look at the folder structure now, I've got an init.py file inside each of the directories. Let's say a team leader just informed you we won't be working with EMG signals for a bit, so we could just go ahead and delete it. So to remove a folder, we can actually use the rm command. So rm -r, so -r signifies that we need to delete every file inside it recursively, and give the folder name, which is EMG. And if we ls now, we can actually see that the EMG folder has been deleted. Let's say you've decided to go ahead with app.py and you don't need main.py. To remove a file, you could use rm and just give the file name. So let's just remove main.py. So rm main.py removes the main.py file.